Hey everyone, I, Zak Wolf, have gotten another idea for one of my book-to-animation comparisons. But this time it's not a Berenstain Bears adaptation, but still another common YouTube poop source on this channel. Yep, a Richard Scarry book, Hilda Needs Help. This was published in 1993, a year before Richard's death, though I'm pretty sure his son Huck Scarry was already helping out into books by this time. This little gold book was adapted into an episode of the first season of The Busy World of Richard Scarry in 1994, The Sleeping Car Adventure. There are, interestingly, quite a few differences that softened up Hilda Hippo's character from here. Just look at the cover artwork! You can tell that it's not going to be a smooth train trip for Hilda. But let's open up the book. Okay, so we have the cat family heading to the train station and to get on the train for their vacation to the seaside. With the text mentions, it is a long trip. They will sleep on the train. And of course, Caillou, also produced by Cookie Jar Entertainment back then, when they were called Cinar, they used an identical premise for their second season episode. Next up, fun. And Boris even states that they will be staying at the seaside for 2 weeks, despite packing enough for the entire summer. And it looks like the cat family did so here, too. Oh. Which is why I made that YouTube poop combining the two of them a few years ago. Strange crossovers on a train. Though the TV version has Hilda Hippo come along with them in the taxi to the train, as he invited Hilda along to look after the kids on the vacation while the parents relax. Yet isn't Hilda Hippo still a kid in the series? I mean, sure, she babysits other kids in this show, and she lives on her own as well. But she still attends the Busy Town Elementary School with Huckle and Lolly and the other kids. Sometimes the age things can be really confusing. Like, say, Huckle Cat driving a delivery truck. But in this book, Hilda goes to the train station herself, and the cat family finds Hilda crying on the platform on how she can't find her train ticket. She wails, "My vacation is ruined!" Well, in the TV version, she does apparently lose her ticket, but she doesn't cry about it. Look at how the Mother Cat and Sally are still in their old outfits from the earlier books, since they received more contemporary clothes for the Busy World TV series. Also, check out that European-looking steam locomotive. Getting ready to pull a single passenger car. Must be a very short shuttle train or something. And then here, Huckle finds Hilda's ticket as it had fallen out of her purse. In the TV version, she doesn't have a purse, so it probably fell out of her pocket, as Hilda's luggage is with the cat family's luggage, including an inflatable hippo water float. Also, check out how this overnight train has only 2 cars behind the European-style diesel locomotive. There's the dining car behind the locomotive, and a single Pullman car, aka a sleeping car, with only 3 compartments. It's gonna get really cramped. In the TV version, the train is 6 cars long, not including the locomotive, which is more realistic, because then there's still 1 dining car and 3 or more Pullman cars to hold all the passengers. Now, a modern long-distance passenger train like this usually would include the dining car and at least 1 sleeping car. But many of them do also include at least 1 coach car, a regular one, as a less expensive way to travel, and usually be some kind of form of a lounge car. Or you could combine it with the dome car, like the Superliner or Sightseer lounge cars on Amtrak's long-distance trains. And as if that weren't enough, the sleeper cars, those can provide quite a few different room options as well. Oh, with the least expensive being their nice little roomettes. Yeah. But this is based off more of a European train, like most of the trains in the Richard Scarry universe are. And we know how popular rail travel is in Europe, even more so in North America. And the TV version adds the semi-running gag on how it can be difficult to keep your balance when walking on a fast-moving train.
It's hard to walk straight on this train. But it sure is easy to fall straight.
And then it happens again when Hilda tries to unpack in the compartment she's in, spilling her luggage in the process. And getting to the compartments, there's another noticeable difference. Hilda gets a compartment with a single bed for herself, while the cat family's all crammed into their own compartment with 3 berth beds. In the TV version, all the compartments in their car have 3 berths, and Mr. and Mrs. Cat both get their own compartment, while Hilda, Uncle, Sally, and Lolly all share a compartment together, since Hilda is looking after them on the trip.
I hope we have enough room.
And look at that lever. How in the book, the text calls it an alarm, and that's for emergencies only. In the TV version, it is appropriately called an emergency brake, a feature that's standard for passenger cars.
And if you need me for anything, just ring this bell.
What's that?
It's the emergency brake. Don't touch it unless there's an emergency.
And both have Huckle and Lolly wanting to sleep in the top berth. Also in this book, the conductor signals with a little handbell that dinner is being served in the dining car, like in the olden days, while the TV version has Mr. Cat tell this to the kids. And this inspires Hilda to gussy up for it.
The dining car. What shall I wear?
But both of them do have Hilda getting stuck in the vestibule between the cars. But we see the reason why the TV version. But it does look funny in the book illustration here, with Hilda screaming inside the vestibule while the conductor lets her out in the book. The TV version has Hilda break down the door to get herself out. And she sits at the cat family's table, and it's pretty tight, of course. And she gets her own table here. And we get this bit, where a waiter ends up spilling a bowl of soup on Hilda's dress. And once again she screams and is upset that her dress is ruined. That part was adapted out in a TV version. Again, to soften things up for Hilda. Also, check out that European-style diesel locomotive. And of how, of course, the train engineer is a fox. So is the engineer in the little steam train earlier in the book. It seems that in most cases in the Richard Scarry universe, the train engineers are foxes. It's pretty similar to how most of the Richard Scarry firefighters are pigs. But Busy Town's job qualifications are still unusual in this case. And after that dining car fiasco comes this bit, where Hilda is upset that there's a man in my room. I can kind of see why, worrying that it could be some kind of pervert or sexual predator. It also happens in the TV version, except of course Hilda doesn't cry, but she is scared, perhaps also worrying for the kid's safety. Of course, it's just the conductor. Although usually in reality they would have like special porters and such to get the berths ready, instead of having the conductor do it himself. Alright, and so, now it's time for bed in this. Because, like in the TV version, Huckle and Lolly sleep in the top berth, while here Mrs. Cat and Sally share the middle berth, and Mr. Cat sleeps alone in the bottom berth. In the TV version, in Hilda and the kids' compartment, while Huckle and Lolly are on the top, as I said, Sally sleeps alone in her middle berth, while Hilda squeezed into the bottom. And also in the TV version, in the Mr. and Mrs. Cat's compartment, Mr. Cat sleeps in the top berth and Mrs. Cat in the middle, while the bottom berth is vacant, where we get this bed.
I'm wondering if it was such a good idea to bring Hilda along.
Oh, don't worry. Everything will be all right in the morning. Besides, what else can happen?
Well, this can. The train screeches to a halt, and in the book here, you hear Hilda scream before the train starts stopping. But in the TV version, we only hear the sounds of the train stopping and the luggage tumbling to the floor in the dark. Unlike in the book where we clearly see it, despite the light being shut off. And they don't fall out the way Mrs. Cat fell out of her berth when the train came to a sudden stop. And of course, it was because of Hilda Hippo, who pulled that emergency brake because her earring fell down the train. And the others aren't amused by that.
Who pulled the emergency brake?
The conductor said to pull it in case of an emergency. And this is definitely an emergency. I lost my favorite earring down the drain.
What next?
Yeah, that is kind of a ridiculous reason to pull the emergency brake. But I guess she didn't want her earring to fall out of the train. At least it's not as bad as on that Amtrak train I once rode to New York City, where some lady in the car was riding up and pulled the emergency brake because she thought it was what opened the door to the vestibule. The conductor was not very pleased. And yes, it is a lot like that Rugrats episode that my brother and I dubbed, isn't it? And of course, in the book, Hilda is really upset. While in the TV version, she's only kind of upset. And that's as much as she gets in the TV version. But in both cases, when the engineer can't get the earring out of his screwdriver, Huckle and Loli have a great idea, where Loli is able to dive into the drain pipe, retrieve the earring. And here, Loli takes off his signature little green hat to go down the drain. While in the TV version, he's wearing a nightcap into the drain. And while Hilda bravos them and gives Loli a big hug, in the TV version, she does have a more caring side as well, apologizing for the dilemma.
Oh, Loli, thank you. I'm sorry, everybody. I won't be a bother anymore.
And then the rest of the trip goes fine. And at the seaside, we just get this bit in the book. Hilda has a wonderful vacation, and so does the cat family. While the TV version adds on a lot to that part, starting out with Hilda overhearing Mr. Cat say something about Hilda's mishaps.
With all Hilda's calamities, I'm surprised we even got here.
She means well.
Oh, I ruined everything. They'll never invite me to babysit again.
But then Huckle and Loli get caught up in a huge tidal wave, and so Hilda rushes to her rescue. And surprisingly, she's a great swimmer, since we know real-life hippos love water but can't swim. And after Goldbug makes a cameo, Hilda pulls Huckle and Loli to safety just in time for a wave to wash them back up on the beach. And thus she's hailed a hero.
I always knew it was a good idea for you to come with us, Hilda. You should come on all our vacations.
Really? That would be great.
But next time, we'll go by car instead of train.
Yeah, but knowing how the cat family has that little orange convertible in the series, it could be a tight squeeze. At least on a train like the one they rode on, they could get up and move around, and have access to a bathroom and food and drinks. And in these modern times, they can easily use their electronic devices aboard with a way to charge them and such, as many modern passenger trains are often Wi-Fi equipped as well, even if it's not always stable. But it was still pretty nice to see things go better for Hilda in the TV adaptation, The Sleeping Car Adventure, than in the original book here. I also noticed that apparently several of the train illustrations in this book are based off the ones from this 1968 Richard Scarry book, What Do People Do All Day, published by Random House in 1968. Yeah, Richard Scarry was doing books for both Random House and Golden Books back then. And then in 2001, Random House bought out Golden Books. And get this, did you know that Deke Entertainment almost bought Golden Books at the time? And the connection there was also kind of how in 2008, Deke was folded into Cookie Jar Entertainment, very much like Hanna-Barbera being folded into Warner Brothers Animation years earlier. And we know Cookie Jar produced both the Busy World series and the lesser-known 2000s follow-up, Busy Town Mysteries, hooray for Huckle. And then, of course, Cookie Jar themselves ended up being folded into DHX Media, now called Wild Brain. And in addition to owning both those animated shows, DHX Wild Brain also has the rights to the Richard Scarry Best Video Ever titles from Random House Home Video, and even the 3 Gold Book Videos Richard Scarry titles from the mid-1980s. Funny, huh? Because much of Gold Book Video's catalog was acquired by Classic Media when they got the non-print assets from Golden Books, while all the publishing stuff went to Random House. How they split it up there. I'm not sure how that would have worked with Deke. I think they would have gotten everything. While Random House got the publishing-related assets like the Little Golden Books, thus bringing all the Richard Scarry books under the same ownership. Though with the Gold Book Video Library, Classic Media doesn't own the entire thing, as besides the Richard Scarry titles owned by Wild Brain, as I already mentioned, there's also the Care Bears and My Pet Monster videos owned by Nelvana, and the Sesame Street Gold Book videos owned by Sesame Workshop. But back to this book here. Here, just look at the train station illustrations. They look very similar to each other, don't they? Hey, with the bouncing taxi and luggage, the locomotives in the station. And there's the single-car train pulled by a steam locomotive. Mentioned in the book that it's only going to make a short trip to the next town. And again, the long-distance train that the pig family rides on, and Hucklecat's family, since they happen to be there too. It consists of only a sleeping car and a dining car hooked up to the European-style diesel locomotive. But the dining car here also carries mail, as sometimes passenger trains indeed do that. Well, for quite some time, Amtrak had special mail cars for their passenger trains. You even have the waiter holding the dishes and the baker getting the pie. And of course, you still have foxes as the train engineers. And in this book, this was back when Mr. Cat worked as a grocer. And it was before Sally Cat was born, too. Even the compartment the pig family sleeps in this book looks a lot like the one Huckle's family in Lowly Ride in. Except I don't see an emergency brake, of course. But yeah, I figured this would be an interesting thing to share, since I made plenty of Richard Scarry YouTube poops, including that new one last week about daylight savings time starting. And I'm also a train buff, as you saw with my model railroad layout. As always, keep watching this YouTube channel to see whatever comes up next.